Picture running a completely legal business. You pay taxes, you break no laws, and one morning your bank simply stops working for you, with no charge, no trial, no appeal. That is not a horror story. That is the documented experience of a whole category of legal workers, and the people who did it to them were never a court and never a jury. They were a bank's values committee and two card networks. So today, let us talk about the quietest power in your entire life. The power to decide whether you are allowed to get paid at all. Start with the receipts, because this is not a feeling, it is on the record. In 2025, the OCC, the federal regulator that oversees national banks, confirmed that banks had been restricting certain sectors based on, and I want you to hear this word, values. Adult entertainment sat near the top of that restricted list. Legal work, legal speech, cut off from the basic plumbing of the economy because someone in a boardroom decided those people were not the kind of customer they wanted. And when a bank shuts the door, where do you go? You go to the only rail left open, crypto. So they got pushed onto crypto. Fine, build your own rails, right? Except the gatekeepers followed them there too. Back in 2021, Mastercard rolled out a policy that required pre-approval of all adult site content, plus heavy identity and age checks for everyone involved. On paper, safety. In practice, a sweeping de facto ban, because no small platform could comply and survive. The ACLU did not mince words. They said it led to the vast censorship of an entirely lawful category of speech. Two private companies wrote a rule, and a legal industry just quietly stopped being able to function. And before anyone says this is just about adult content and could never touch you, look at how wide the net already is. Over in Australia, Coinbase accused the major banks of systematically cutting off crypto and fintech firms entirely. Not one company, the category. Coinbase called Debanking, a systemic feature of the Australian financial landscape. Systemic, a feature, not an accident, not a one-off, but the way the system is built to behave. The targets change. The mechanism does not. First, the workers they found embarrassing, then a whole emerging industry. The list only ever grows. And in case you think only small players get squeezed, the watchers are being watched too. In 2025, JP Morgan, one of the largest banks on the planet, disclosed it was facing a federal probe over its own debanking practices. So this is not fringe paranoia. This is a top-tier institution under investigation for exactly the behavior I am describing. The fact that even the giants are now in the spotlight tells you how normal this had become. Cutting people off was not a scandal inside these places. It was a Tuesday. Now here is the framing they never want you to land on. Debanking is not a bug in the system. It is a feature of the system. When a small number of private companies control the only way to move money, they do not need a law to silence you. They do not need a court order. They just turn off the tap. No charge, no defense, no due process, because none of those things apply to a company quietly deciding you are bad for the brand. Speech you can be punished for without a trial is not free. It is leased, and the landlord can revoke it. And understand why they always start with the people you are least likely to defend, the undesirables, the adult workers, the fringe. They pick the targets they bet you will not march for, because that is how a precedent gets built quietly. Once the mechanism is normal, once a company can erase a legal industry with a memo and nobody riots, the same switch is wired to everyone, the activist, the journalist, the business that took the wrong public position. You do not have to like the first people cut off to understand that the blade does not stop where they aimed it. So the lesson is not pick a side on who deserves a bank account. The lesson is that any system where two companies can decide who gets to exist economically is a system that already owns you, whether or not your number has come up yet. The people debanked into crypto were not pioneers chasing freedom. They were refugees from a system that locked them out, looking for any door left open. The goal is not a better landlord. The goal is to stop renting your right to get paid from anyone at all. If watching legal people get switched off makes you want infrastructure no committee can revoke, you are asking the right question. This is the ownership stuff in practice, MXEL, where you hold a real stake instead of permission that can be pulled at midnight at mxl.com. Stay loud.